What was your expectations? I don't think I've ever asked you that one.
No, I didn't know. I just thought it was so comfortable that day, and we had so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just, like I said, we talked about some deep, dark stuff. We talked about my incident and everything, and we went in depth and in detail. And back then, I wasn't really talking about it that much.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
We stand at the start line with a new idea, full of motivation, and ready to complete our vision of the project at hand. The trepidation, the excitement are all part of the journey as you prepare to climb the mountain. The new car smell will eventually wear off and reality sinks in. The hard work will become evident as you realize nothing is easy. You come to a crossroads of whether to stick it out or just give up. It is rare to have the fortitude to fill in the gaps between the start and the finish line. To have the resilience to see your project until the end. There will be failures along the way, which makes your victories that much sweeter. I'm Kevin Donaldson, here with Mike Failace, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you. Because that's what we do here, and that's the stories we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell to get notified of all of our new content. Now you can join. Follow us on social media so you can find out what we're up to.
Kevin, I was going to say, you hear Mike Failace. Where is he? I don't see him in the camera angle over there.
He's gone. We switched it around. It's season 4, so it's a little bit different. Our
guest is under the table today.
This is our first you and I recording. And, we come in this studio every week and we try to make a very good production and a good show, professional show. But that comes with a lot of practice and a lot of mistakes. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, the suffering of the Suffering Podcast.
And I think that is a perfect subject because we do go through a lot of suffering here.
Believe it or not, I mean, this show, we try to make it look easy, but it's anything but easy. Before we get into anything, let's give a big shout out to our marquee sponsor, that's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as cops, but we do trust them. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com. You see, I didn't screw that up like the live event.
I know, yep. But see, we're not cops anymore.
Yeah, I know.
We don't screw that. As podcasters, we don't trust too many people.
We're going to have to change that one. So this week's social media question comes from Sim_Teller456. What is the value of people close to you?
People close to me, I would say like family, friends.
Which is a small group.
Yeah, it's a small group. Well, they say you could count your friends on one hand.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. You know what it is? I'm the type of person, I was, my father, the way me and my brother were raised. You'd do anything for a friend. And when I do something, people say, thank you. I was taught you never have to thank a friend. To me, they're an extension. Friends are more like family to me. The value, just even someone like you, as much as I don't like you at times.
It happens. You're not the first to say that.
No, but the value of our friendship. I know you're a phone call away.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if God forbid I left here and broke down, you'd probably be the first person I call because you'd be right there.
I'd turn around and come catch you.
Absolutely.
Even though I freaking hate going to your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
But so I'm in a different situation, and I look upon your family, your father, your brother, and at times I get a little jealous because you guys are close. You guys can lean on each other. Your father, he comes to every event we have. He's
probably our biggest fan.
He really is. When's the last time you seen one of my family members at an event? Right?
Yeah.
So because of that, my people in my circle, my family, obviously outside of my wife and my children and stuff like this, that's obvious. But my people in my circle, they are my family. And that circle is very small. It's you and like 2 other people.
See, when the circle's small, that's less Christmas presents to buy.
That's the positive part of it. But I was thinking about that today. So those people I have, I need them. And we'll get into little tips. You and I will get into little tips. The other people I'm close to, we'll get into little tips. And it just happened. So, and I listen, he's like a brother to us. So Mike DePalma, he was going through something and he got a little testy with something. I was joking around and I guess I might have pushed it too far. I don't know. I can't even remember what the hell it was. And I sat back and I go, and I didn't know where it was coming from. I really didn't know what, but I hit a button on him. And I just said, listen, man, if the old Kevin would have said, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. You go pound salt. The way I'm trying to be, I said, I sat back, and it was all through text, and I go, you know what? I don't know. Maybe I guess I said something wrong. So I said, listen, man, if I went too far, I was joking around. I'm sorry. And the next day, he didn't text me anymore after that. The next day, he texts me. He's like, look, I'm having a tough time. I'm sorry. I shouldn't take it out on you. Done. Over. And I've talked to him since then, and it's gone. It's done.
See, that's one thing too. I could say something to you today, and we'd laugh about it. If I said the same thing to you tomorrow, you may get pissed. It all depends on the mood you're in at that point.
And
sometimes you're having a bad day. You don't feel like having that ball busting.
Right. Well, I don't have a window into what's happening in your life. I don't have cameras on you. Well, maybe I do. I don't have a camera on you 24 hours a day. You could have just gotten some really shitty news, and I come in and just break your balls, and you're like, dude, what the fuck?
You come in hot.
Yeah. And then, but the worst part is you step back afterwards and you're like, oh, why the fuck did I just do that? I've done it plenty of times. I'm like, oh, man, it was fucking stupid.
No, it's like I said, it's like a joke that doesn't go over.
Yeah.
It all depends on what type of mood that person's in when you tell that joke.
Now I sort of consider the source. If I'm in one of the, and I do get in those moods frequently. When I'm in one of those moods, I don't engage.
Yeah.
Because it's better for me not to engage because hopefully that person on the other end it'll die down and just know, okay, it didn't land. It is what it is.
But see, that's the thing about me and you. We know kind of when each other in those moods.
Right.
If we don't talk for a couple of days, then I know either something's up with you or you know something's up with me, and we won't call up and start off with a, hey, jerk off, how you doing?
Did you see that post on Instagram? That's usually how but there's a huge, enormous value because I don't have I have my family, my immediate family, but I don't have anybody outside of them aside from my friends. I don't have, and listen, let's be quite honest. There are things that you can't tell your children. There are things you can't tell your significant other. And it's not like you're trying to hide stuff. It's just you don't want to lay it on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Or there's a comfort level. Maybe they don't understand or something like that. So you need those people really close to you. But the people who have that really wide group, or you perceive as having that wide group, man, somebody in there is going to be a weak link, and it's a bad move. Yeah. It's a bit.
You can only the people you trust. Put 100% trust in. If you have a big group like that, you do something wrong, one person that's not in your real small group is going to wind up leaking somewhere.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. But
the one thing is, and I know a lot about your upbringing and what you didn't have in your upbringing, you're giving to your kids tenfold. And I think I'm not saying that's why you do it, but I think that's one of the reasons you do it. Because, you are a fantastic father. You're involved in everything your kids do. So
I took a lesson from Stacey Ellis and Benny Love. Okay, they are big proponents of breaking those generational curses. So I took those to heart. Like when they were saying that, I go, I just sat back and sort of listened to it. And that's kind of where I'm trying to go to. I'm trying to break that generational curse. Am I successful all the time? Absolutely not. There are times, but I can say this, I've never laid a hand on my kids. Ever. Yep. And I never will, because there's no value into it. It didn't work with me. It actually had the opposite effect with me. Because listen, if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to get blamed for doing something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Listen.
Believe me, I know.
So Sim Teller 456, thank you for sending that question in. Keep sending your questions in, and we will try to get them on the air.
So Kev, we start off with the same question pretty much every week, and it's got to be the toughest question to answer. Tell me a little about yourself.
I think our audience is really tired of hearing about ourselves.
Yeah, no kidding. Tell me a little about your neighbor.
I think some people in our audience now are going to be able to write a book about us without us.
They know more about us than we know about ourselves, probably.
I'm pretty sure they know more about me than my kids know about me.
You got that right.
So we've been doing this now for 3 years. We're now in season 4. You come in on episode 9, and Today, the recording date,
The picture of
the
episode
picture,
9.
there's episode 9 right there. The recording date that we're recording this right now is actually our official 3rd year anniversary. We've been doing this for 3 years solid today. And I go back and I said, on this day, episode 1, 2020 was aired. And I just think about all the stuff that has changed in our lives as far as what we do here and how we do it. We were just talking before about the remnants of the old studio.
We called it like the Roman Colosseum.
It's ancient ruins now. I was down there doing some stuff, and there's still some remnants up. And to some extent, they'll never go away. But it's a little sad.
We should get pictures and just interject them in this episode, like the old studio.
Yeah. I love that old studio.
Yeah.
It was comfortable.
It was.
It was comfortable. It was. There was no stress, no lights and cameras on us.
We could stop when we want. We didn't have to care about what we looked like.
Yeah.
Not that we care anyway, but
We had to care for one picture afterwards
Yeah.
for the thumbnail. That was it.
Yeah, and look at us. We're both wearing hats in the pictures. Mine's tilted a little bit. Yours is up above your head.
I was so much younger. Look, no wrinkles. No wrinkles there. But so you come on episode 9, and obviously everybody knows this story. We've told it so many times where we just meshed, we gelled, and hey, Mike, come on. I'd like you to be the co-host on this. What was your expectations? I don't think I've ever asked you that one.
No, I didn't know. I just thought it was so comfortable that day, and we had so much fun.
Mhm.
We just, like I said, it was. We talked about some deep, dark stuff. We talked about my incident and everything, and we went in depth and in detail. And back then, I wasn't really talking about it that much. That might have been one of the first times that I really came out and talked about it, and actually felt comfortable.
Letting it out to the world.
Yeah. Okay. I talked to the police academy classes, but that's a select group.
Mm-hmm.
It's a select group of people, and
you bite the bullet in hopes of helping the next generation.
absolutely.
So you kind of power through that one. This one is strictly for you.
Yeah, but now when you look at the numbers back then, and we had like these episodes are being heard in different countries,
Mm-hmm.
and you start to think like different countries are hearing about my,
Some guy in
my
Russia's going, that motherfucking Mike Failace.
Yeah, but I was excited. Yeah, I told you right away. I said, I think I actually asked you how much I have to pay to get into it.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. I said,
sure. What's it going to cost me?
I said, it's all taken care of. There's no sense in re-ringing that bell.
That's how excited I was, because I was ready to pay to just come on and and be a no.
Should have charged you.
I know.
But
As a matter of fact, after all, it wound up costing you, because we used to get breakfast all the time. You always jumped up and paid.
yeah, I was grateful. I was grateful, but the production cost was low. The production cost is nothing to compare to what it is now.
But even think about that. We used to meet at the house. We'd go over to the bagel place. We'd cook a coffee and bagel. That was our pre-production meeting.
Yeah, we just had to be at the studio by 12, and that was like our timeline.
Yeah.
And if half the time the guest was late, I think back and I don't even know what my expectations for the show
That was going to be my next my next question.
easy for you to say.
When you started it, what were your expectations?
Somebody recently asked me this, and I came to a little bit of an epiphany. This show allowed me to be heard. Okay, it allowed me, no matter how many people were listening, no matter who was tuning in, whatever I was saying was being heard, and I knew it was being heard. And I think that's part of the reason my expectations are like, well, you know what, I'm opinionated, I got some things to say, maybe it'll resonate with somebody. And listen, I floundered through the first 8 episodes. I really did. I had no idea what I was doing.
Well, you lost a co-host at one point, so you're on your own.
So the first episode I did, I had microphones, and the studio, as you saw it and came in episode 9, I had microphones set up. I never plugged in the board. So we record the first episode, and I'm like, why does that sound shitty? Like I don't understand. This I can hear it in my earphones sounding really good, and it sounds like shit when it records. I never got it.
That happened to us once before.
Yeah.
In Florida. It's another part of the Suffering podcast.
Oh God, Florida. Let's talk about the Florida trip, because the Florida trip sort of jumped off. That was our next level stuff, because we had been doing the show together for a year.
But that almost like came off on a whim.
Yeah,
right? It was a phone call.
it was.
Was it John that
It was
called us?
John. It was John. John Elite. He called us and said, "Hey, you know, if you ever make your way down to Florida, you know, come on and do the show." He was doing the show with MSCS Media, and then I got in touch with Tommy from MSCS Media, and he's like, "Hey, you can come on my show." And then
Matt.
I don't
Matt
know.
got in touch with us.
I don't know how that happened. How I got in contact. I still to this day don't remember how I got in contact with Matt, and we did Lynn and Will. And so through Matt, we got into that DOC TV. Before we get into that, though, when you first came on and you told people, "Hey, I'm doing the podcast," they had already heard your episode, or most of the people, I'm assuming, heard your episode. Like, what were their reactions?
My father told me I had to get an attorney.
Yeah.
I remember, you got to get an attorney now, Dad. It's not like that. Yes, it is. I'm telling you. I've been in business. Dad, don't need an attorney.
Yeah, I don't think
it's
we
just
need
going to be me and Kevin talking.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to people. Then he wound up coming after he heard a couple episodes of the podcast. Then he really came around. He said, "Yo, you're right. You don't need an attorney.
You don't need an attorney for this one.
You guys are doing all right." But I mean, 3 years ago, I didn't even know what a podcast was. Nobody knew what I was really getting into. Oh yeah, I'm going to be a co-host on a podcast. We're like, oh, good.
I started doing this like deep dive into podcasting. It always starts with Joe Rogan. You see a guest on there that you're interested in, and then I just started listening to other things and how they were formatted and how the discussion was, both video and audio. There was, and I used to do a lot of audio books back then, and I would listen to that, and it just dawned on me. I'm like, wow, it just really seems interesting. I think I want to give it a shot.
He probably said, "It doesn't seem too hard."
Yeah, it's exactly what I said. I started researching everything, and you want to talk. This is going back 3 years, and there was a ton of information out there. I had to learn how to publish. I had to learn what equipment to buy. I had to learn all this stuff from scratch. I mean, I didn't even have an Instagram account.
I was gonna say, and promote.
Yeah. So then you promote, and originally the way the show was promoted, I don't know if you remember, I used to put out 3 posts per day of the same thing until I realized that that was a big foul.
Yeah. I think someone contacted you and told you got to spice it up a little bit. You can't put the same thing out 3 times.
3 times, yeah. And it looks like a spam account, and there was a whole bunch of stuff, but I didn't know, because in my mind, I'm still thinking like NBC, ABC, where you just see the same commercial being blown out over the air constantly. That's what I was figuring.
Well, hey, you learn. That's all about the suffering of the Suffering podcast. What we did in the beginning. If we were still doing that, we'd still be in your basement, getting 300 views.
Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
No.
I'd still be happy with doing it. It's just we outgrew it.
We should do that one day.
Just go back.
Have Andrew bring some cameras. Sit down and do the Suffering.
Yeah, then I got to give my kids their playroom back, or I got to take it from them once again.
Well, I could go see Mandy again anyway.
Yeah, Mandy. Mandy just made a trip to the vet.
Oh boy,
she got into Halloween candy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
but you were telling me.
Yeah, she had to go get her stomach pumped. But the reaction. So when I recorded that first episode, I was so nervous about throwing it out there because I didn't want to be judged. I was so worried about what people would think. Like, is this kind of stupid?
What does he think? He's a big ego guy?
Yeah, yeah. Like, who the hell is this guy to think he's got a voice? And so I was very, very selective on who I sent it out to.
But now the other thing is, how did your wife and kids feel about it? Because you were bringing strangers into their house. We brought some characters into your house.
I think my wife overheard me once talking about it with my first co-host. And she turns, "You're starting a podcast?" I was like, yeah, just, where are you going to record it? Downstairs.
Right next to your gym.
Yeah, right next to your gym. And what I did was I went out to Harbor Freight and I bought a bunch of moving blankets. And there were my sound barriers. I hung them from I have a drop ceiling downstairs. I hung them from the ceiling with clamps and stuff. And after the recording, the studio was completely broken down. You couldn't even tell I was in there. Like, everything was packed away, and I just every Saturday, we recorded on Sundays. Every Saturday, I put them back up, and then when we started to gain a little traction, then I started putting some more permanent fixtures up, and
it took away half of the kids' playroom.
Correct. Correct. And, they couldn't be down there. They had to be quiet when we were down there because
Trish couldn't have clients down there.
yeah, I had to schedule like 12 o'clock on when we Saturday.
Saturdays.
12 o'clock on Saturdays. That's it. That's my time for 3 hours block. But then here was the worst part. Here's where the suffering comes in. We would record. I'd go into my garage with headphones on, and I'd go through the episode. And I'd just go through the episode, and I'd take out everything, and I'd put it up. It was a little easier because
You'd go through it like a toothpick, though. You picked out every
had a lot more control over audio.
Yeah.
Video's a little bit different. It's a little bit more. It's
because you can't sync it.
Right, and when you chop video up, it looks choppy unless you put a transition in there. But the education I got from doing that, with your voice, so it was like looking at the Matrix. And anybody who edits podcasts or does their own little hobby thing, you'll start to look at little waves. I could tell when you were going to say when you were going to say the. Like I didn't even need to hear the words. I could see it on the sound wave. And at the end, I got decent at it.
You made me actually sound good for a change.
It was fun. I was trying to put out. Here's the bottom line. I was trying to put out a professional product with, it was a champagne studio on a beer budget. That's what it was.